It is Monday, the 15th of December, 2025, and I was looking at my 23andMe again. People already have all of our information anyway, so it is what it is, but it was updated. I think I was talking about it a little bit yesterday, but I'm going down these rabbit holes. It's like really interesting stuff. But yeah, the Bondi Beach terrorist attack, crazy. And I did want to say before I talked about that and the people that were involved and alleged backgrounds and connections to certain groups that I don't see yet. Again, in my research, I haven't dug too much into it, just a little bit last night and this morning. And it is tragic. There are people, though, because people are saying Candace Owens predicted this. And again, I adore her work and her. And so this is not a slam by any means, but there people are saying that she called it because she was talking about like the second week in December, there was going to be some kind of like a 9/11 type attack. And so many people were making those same predictions that there was going to be around Christmas time, around the holidays, there was going to be an increase in domestic terrorist attacks. It's been on my whiteboard, literally. It was literally January of the beginning of the year last year that I was saying it was going to increase, and talking about again like attacking and exploiting holidays or ceremonies or celebrations that have like religious connotations to it, right? Like especially within Christianity and within the Jewish religion, and so again, very disgusting and unfortunate that this happened. It's infuriating to watch as someone who is deployed, who has literally been to war in Afghanistan. And I've seen the same exact tactics by the same types of radical people. I'd like to see that in Afghanistan and other areas, and then see that unfolding in Western countries. To me, like I've been saying this for a few years, I'm like, we are literally doing this to ourselves. And this is not going to be the people at the top living in the gated communities or in Rockcliffe or in like these rich areas that are going to be impacted by this. And so it's so troubling. And so a lot of people are looking at the videos and the clips and the footage that are coming out about this man named, I think it was Ahmad al-Ahmad. I'm going to get into the facts, but he ended up disarming the father, one of the terrorists who killed people. I believe the death toll now is at 15, and a lot of people wounded and or injured during that attack as well. And so people were saying, well, and I'll get into the video actually first, but before I do any of that stuff and talk about that, I'm just going to go into some of my my stories just to get that out of the way, and then I'm going to share videos and why, at least when like on deployments, when you disarm someone, it is actually against the rules of engagement to actually to shoot and or kill an enemy combatant if he is disarmed and or is fleeing, leaving. It's against the rules. It's against the law. our rules. That's why I was wondering if this guy had any type of like military or even law enforcement, but military background when he did that. But it ends up like I don't think he did at all. But again, this guy luckily ran out of ammo with that firearm. But unfortunately, he wasn't detained or held by other people, even though he was disarmed. Again, respectfully speaking, I understand that this was very fluid and dynamic. And again, these are not soldiers responding on the ground like we did in Afghanistan. And so he ended up being able to acquire another firearm, and he was again shooting at people after that. That's a literal strategy and tactic that these radicals do. And they were doing it in Afghanistan. They were doing it in Iraq. They were doing it in other areas, literally even when I was on the fucking ground. And they're so they're doing it here, and they're doing it in Australia, and they're doing it in these first world countries, and or they will. And people are talking about restricting gun laws in order to make this better. Every time you restrict gun ownership and make gun restrictions in areas, there's more crime. There's more gun crimes. And there's more people that have illegal firearms. Why? Because they can become emboldened. People are thinking about this as if like there's some kind of like, again, like a liberal suburban housewife, respectfully speaking, like living in like in a nice community, in a gated, not even a gated, but like a nice community. And so they don't think the same way. They don't understand the mindsets and the ideologies of some groups, and what they do. And so, like the targeted attacks and then fleeing and then again re-engaging it's common. And again, I'm going on all these tangents, but where was I going with this? I want to start with this first before I get into other stuff. Okay, so More corruption coming out. This is from the US, but it's in Canada as well. So, breaking news, it's just been exposed that Minnesota's AG, that's Attorney General Keith Ellison's son, has been collecting a $110,000 salary and $57,000 living expenses stipend from the Minnesota City Council while attending Harvard. So that must be nice. This was interesting. Andrew Lawton, he's a member of Parliament for the Conservatives, and he's proposing the inclusion of Lawton proposed the inclusion of the symbol due to its traumatic connotation, citing communism's historical death toll, which exceeds 100 million victims. However, the hammer and sickle that represents the communist insignia apparently does not meet the proposed threshold for hatred. So he proposed making it a symbol of hatred. And again, I don't even I think that actually maybe I'll show the post if it allows me to. Sometimes it kicks me out. Okay, so this is my response back. So I said, I do agree with the communist symbol. I do agree that the communist symbol elicits disgust in anyone with an education and what they've done to humanity. But criminalizing it, I don't know. I think the Nazi symbol also elicits disgust in people, but criminalizing it, free speech risks offending people. If we can finally get the radical communists out of the education systems and government, that's a good start. It's not taught. It is not taught in schools and media Hollywood. Oh yeah, sorry. It is not taught in schools and media Hollywood does not make content on it. Okay, so like it's a little bit of a long sentence, but people are just not aware of the impact that communism has had, like all over the world, historically speaking. And we have put people just showing communism in a good light. And for some reason, they're making it to like the Ivy League institutions and our media and our systems of government. And it just blows my mind, like how if these people were doing the same thing, but it was like replace communists with Nazi, this would not happen. Like this would have been stopped right from the beginning, despite the fact that communism has killed more people than Nazism. And so, and these are just facts. And so I know a lot of people do get upset when I share that. Even a few years ago, when I was working at the Ottawa Mission, I was a facilitator through Discovery University, and so every semester was 10 weeks long. I would volunteer to be a facilitator for people that were transient or homeless within the area to build their resumes, keep them out of the cold, and so many other reasons. But and also to give an education for people that wanted to do better. And I would have like debates with the other facilitator regarding like what he was pushing, because we had questions that we had to answer, and then we would just guide like everyone through their own interpretations of their own questions, and we were like completely different sides of this, and yeah, and he was like kind of like a communist, and he just didn't like what I was talking about, and he ended up actually not shutting down. Like he was good about it, but you could tell he was visibly upset, and he actually ended up terminating the discussion. Like he got out of it. Luckily, I was still there to like manage the group like for the few hours that we had left. But yeah, he shut it down. And again, that's nothing negative towards him. He's just like he's getting his education from Ottawa, and he's in a literal bubble here, which is why, by the way, Saskatchewan wants to separate as well now. There's some people from within. They're doing movements. They want to join Alberta and not be connected to Ontario. And God damn it, I live here now. I'm not born here, but like I'm like they all want to separate from us, and I know why. It's because we literally have the fucking worst people working for us within Ontario than recorded history. And yeah, so there's that. Okay, what else did I wanted to get into? Oh yeah, the floor turner. The traitor to Canada. So what did I say? I think I commented on this as well. I said courtesy of the Chinese bankers is why he switched sides. Right there. Yeah. This is funny. Comment here. Libs were afraid of Orange Man, but love Red Scarf Man. I just saw that. That's actually pretty funny. All right. Yes, because there's like again, like people are showing just how bad the rhetoric and the narrative has been against white people over the years. So there's clips that people are sharing, including Elon Musk and others, um, and so people need to be educated on history, and more
This study
people are.
tried to
It's surprising me just how many people now are calling out slavery from other groups for longer periods and things like that, and how white people were also slaves, and it's good to see. Like even the Hodgkin twins, I think that's their names, but anyways, they shared a lot of good information. They have good guests. I'd like to be on that podcast, and they call this stuff out too. Anyways, this is unrelated. So, physician patient racial concordance and disparities in birthing mortality for newborns.
claim that black babies born with white physicians had a 58% higher infant mortality in the hospital. That's an extremely high amount. This shows, wow, white doctors are really racist on some level or another. Whether it's conscious or not, they just don't apply the same level of care, or they're malicious purposefully. Except it's not true. When controlling for low birth weights, the gap in deaths disappears. When you start accounting for other races of doctors as well, and start accounting for situations where there are serious illnesses or birth defects among babies, and infants are sent to specialized care where doctors are proportionally more likely to be white, we start seeing why certain babies given specialized care are more likely to die and skew these numbers. When you control for both of these factors, the gap completely disappears. Additionally, even in their own data, white babies have a 22% higher likelihood of dying in the custody of black doctors. They didn't include this, specifically saying it would undermine the narrative. This was posted by every mainstream news, and it was quoted by a Supreme Court justice. This is also fraud. The authors knowingly lied or misrepresented their data and promoted anti-white hatred in doing so, not only making the public distrust medical professionals, but hate white people because they believe there's harm being done to their babies. This study tried to claim that black babies born with
Oh, my video's off. Sorry about that. All right. Okay. I have it on X. I know I posted something regarding more white hate, and it's just gotten out of control. It's really gotten out of control, and this is why more and more people are talking about it at the expense of being called white supremacists, which I'm friggin' not. But anyway, sorry, it's just ridiculous. Here we go. See this? Hey, I'm going to share with you. Try again. Sorry about that. Okay.
And white Americans will soon be a minority, and that's great.
Whites will not be the majority. I mean, it's an exciting transformation of the country. It's an exciting evolution and progress of our country.
We are going to be a white minority very, very soon. I'm okay with that.
If things are so bad, as you say, with the white working class, don't you want to get new Americans in?
America is going to look very different in 100 years. You're not going to be able to tell you're black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you're Puerto Rican, whatever. It's going to be very complex, and I think ultimately that's going to be good.
White Americans feel that they're losing their country, they're losing ownership of the country, and they're right. In the end, they are not the future.
For the first time in American history, the number of white people went down.
White population is declining for the first time in history in America.
White people will not be the majority in the country anymore.
This will be the first generation ever in American history in which whites will be a minority.
Treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity.
To abolish whiteness is to abolish white people.
White people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? We got to take these motherfuckers out.
Was it or was it not the duty of every good revolutionary to kill all newborn white babies?
We have to kill white people.
When do we start killing white people?
I don't want to say we need to go start killing all white folks, but it's like, but maybe.
when we say we want to kill whitey, we don't really mean we want to kill whitey. We do.
We have to exterminate white people off of the face of the planet to solve this problem.
Fuck white people!
An unrelenting stream of immigration, nonstop. Folks like me who are Caucasian of European descent will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America. Absolute minority. That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
Can you imagine
And
saying
white
that?
America.
Can you imagine saying that about Japan or China or South Korea or India or you name it? You name the area and white people around the world. I think it depends on the stats you look at, but it's anywhere between 6 and 11%. We'll say maybe they like to average it out, like let's say like around 8%, which is the minority. We are like a very small minority of like the human population. And so we don't like we're getting more and more like where like the like places that were European or what we call Western countries that were largely of like had European and Christian influence, getting absolutely overtaken. And so why is that okay? We're like where we cannot, even though we are the minority in the world, why can we not maintain that, maintain our culture, maintain our religion, maintain our skin color? When we're totally allowing and accepting because we understand that it's okay and that we're all friggin' equal, we're all humans, that it's okay for other people in other areas of the world to also have their own. I love traveling around the world and meeting new people, having new experiences, talking to people that are from different backgrounds, culturally, like religiously, all of these things depending on the country, because there's some countries where I'm just like not allowed, nor do I want to go just because of their treatment of women and children, first of all, and no interest. And so like, do you, but like, again, like that doesn't impact me here. And so whatever, but when it starts impacting me here, okay, that's where, as a libertarian, there's more issues that need to be addressed. And you have people, unfortunately, that are, entitled Canadians, largely liberal right now, because like that's the narrative that they're pushing and stuff like that, with just a complete and absolute, just complete blind trust. And everyone coming here is coming here for a better life, and that's completely going to like immerse themselves within Canada. Absolutely not. There are people that are exploiting us, and there are people that are in sleeper cell mode, etc., and waiting for the opportunity to exploit us, unfortunately. And that's just a reality of what we've allowed. And the less people who have firearms, legal gun owners who have firearms, the less we are protected, and the more people, criminals, are emboldened to acquire more firearms. Because in the areas where there's the strictest gun laws, you'll actually see there's always been an increased trend in illegal firearms in these areas. Why? Because that enemy is not thinking like you and me. They're not. It's not about fair treatment. It's not about equal opportunity, right? It's not like they don't. Anyways, they have the advantage. And when they know that there's people that are now disarmed and they don't even have the ability to defend themselves in their own houses, again, like that's just we're being left out for the slaughter is essentially what's friggin' happening, not to sound dramatic. Because again, people take that and it gets them emboldened, and then more stuff happens. And so the response in Australia now is to restrict guns. Well, anyway, studies would show that that's like the last thing you should do. And there are people that you will not change, unfortunately. There are people that have been groomed and indoctrinated and brainwashed and have suffered so much trauma since a very young age, and they hate us. Hate us. Okay? I know I keep saying that, but I think like now, like more people understand that maybe we should reconsider where we accept people coming in from. And if it's from countries where they're being ruled by terrorists or terrorist organizations, or there's links there, then no. Okay, so this is from Al Jazeera. So this is posted, let's see here, yesterday. It doesn't have the time, but anyway, 2 gunmen have attacked a Jewish festival at Sydney's popular Bondi Beach, killing at least 15 people and wounding dozens, according to Australian authorities. Like people like this, like in Afghanistan, like they would torture and kill and behead people that they thought were like gay or supporting us, or women going to school, trying to get educated, like you name it. Like it was so bad. Before we even landed in Afghanistan, there were people that were part of like these terrorist organizations they talked about calling it ISIS and Taliban, etc., that were slaughtering people all over the friggin' place in these areas because they were imposing Sharia law in areas that were because there was Western influence, from the 70s onwards, even in Iraq and Iran and other areas, were becoming more westernized. And these people did not like that. Unbelievable what they were doing and still doing. All right, so Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the devastating mass shooting on Sunday, which police are calling a terrorist incident, was a targeted attack on Jewish Australians on the first day of Hanukkah. Like, how fucking this is what I mean. This is crazy. And anyways, the evil was unleashed at Bondi Beach today, beyond comprehension, and the trauma and loss that families are dealing with tonight is beyond anyone's worst nightmares, Albanese added, no doubt. And these are it's attacking religious people. This is what I'm saying. Like people within Canada, like all these Christian churches that got attacked, all of these protests and these prayer groups that are they're doing it right like in front of and around Christian churches, Catholic churches, or not. It's a red flag, and I don't understand why people that are not religious are not understanding just how bad it is for them as well. Especially if you're part of the LGBTQ plus IA community. Yeah, because Sharia law, yeah, punishable by death, by the way, just to be clear. It's freaking wild. So one of the alleged shooters, a 50-year-old man, was killed at the scene. His 24-year-old son, the second gunman, was taken into custody and is in critical condition, Lanyon said. I believe they were Pakistani. People are saying that they were in the IDF, like the son. I don't see any connection to that. And again, if this is more people that, again, are blaming the Jews for everything, I get so annoyed with that. Respectfully speaking, like this is not helping, and you are causing more harm and attacks and hatred towards people that that we don't have friggin' issues with, especially as Christians. There are people, again, that are part of AIPAC and lobbyist groups and the military, pharmaceutical, media industrial complex, and part of the Hasbara and like Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Smotrich and these guys that are criminals. Okay, but I'm saying that these are not believers in God. These are extreme radical Zionists. And there are Jewish people of faith that denounce these people wholeheartedly. And there's been protests as well. Like even in New York, I shared that of rabbis denouncing this and other Jewish people that are actually religious and actually believe in God that denounce these people. So yeah, because they know that it's escalating tensions. Like what the hell are these guys doing? It's all for money. All right, let's see. Just bang, bang, bang. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation reported that a Chinooka by the Sea event had begun at a playground near the northern end of the beach when the attack occurred at 6:47 p.m., 7:47 GMT, near the Bondi Pavilion. Near a friggin' like a playground, really. More than 1,000 people had gathered at the event, according to police. The ABC spoke to a witness who described seeing two black-clad armed men standing on a bridge, shooting at crowds who had gathered for the event. Absolutely fucking disgusting, man. Yeah. Over 10 minutes. So this is the video I'll show you. So the dramatic footage shows a bystander in a car parked tackling one of the suspects and snatching his gun. The video then shows the suspect losing his footing and backing away towards a bridge where another shooter was located. That's the father, while the bystander, identified by local media as 43-year-old fruit shop owner, oh, that's who it was, never mind, Ahmed Al-Ahmad, places the gun down on the ground. So again, like even doing that. Okay, so Chris Wins said it was the most unbelievable scene I've ever seen. A man walking up to a gunman who had fired on the community and single-handedly disarming him, putting his own life at risk to save the lives of countless other people. Yeah, that was insane. Nation stunned. Okay, so I'm just going to shut this down and see what else there is. I had a few things up here. Okay, so this was 22 hours ago. So yeah, PM to strengthen gun laws across Australia following Bondi attack. as it happened Monday, December 15th. Again, they're hours ahead of us. The Prime Minister says the National Cabinet and First Ministers have agreed to strengthen gun laws across the nation. Again, doesn't help. Does not help. Never helps. It's so annoying because Keir Starmer, too, respectfully speaking, he looks like such a beta. And I remember like Marco Minicino, he was a public safety officer, and there was a clip of him that the media had put out there. So I shared it, but he was on a gun range, I think, or trying to get like more information on guns because he had no freaking idea. And he went with Bill Blair, and there was another woman there as well. And Marco Minicino like was saying like he was like too afraid to even freaking touch the gun. He didn't even want to touch it. And like that was the public safety officer, the guy that was like joking about employing tanks on innocent civilians during the Freedom Convoy. Yeah, that guy. Talks friggin' big, but it's not him doing things. And then Bill Blair didn't want to touch the gun either or shoot. And because why? Because he didn't want to look bad. And it's so funny. So what they did was they get the girl. Like, oh, it's fine if she misses or if she doesn't do as well or she's not a threat. And I was like so annoyed with that because I'm like, I have been that woman, like in a group of people where I was the first in the breach or the one that had to be the one doing the demonstrations, full of fucking men, like respectfully speaking, I don't know, I'm swearing. And it's like all the pressure is on me because I don't want to fucking look bad either. Like I don't want to miss, and, you know, and so like, and especially added pressure with like a whole bunch of people around. And not even in that for courses too, with like when we had to do like different testing and stuff like that. I was first in the friggin' breach or like going to battalion, like doing a live fire air mobile raid within 3 days of landing on the ground and like not even having all my gear yet. And then having to go to Wainwright for this. Like, anyway, it was crazy after just finishing phase 4 infantry, which was so hard. And it's a very long course. No break, the only female on that freaking course too. And it was a hard course, but anyways, just, and then I had so many people like from behind me because I was the first female Patricia officer. I'm like leading this friggin' these patrols and coordinating with Recce and their assets and stuff like that. But like, there's like probably like 50 men, like literally behind me, like out, like further away, like with like high ranking people. Like I think like commanding officer, like there was like, and like no pressure, no friggin' pressure. 3 days in. And again, I only went to battalion to get my gear that I needed to be, I was going to be range safety staff for people that were deploying to Afghanistan, Maple Guardian. And then is when I did that as well, because my company was out there. Where was I going with that? Anyway, fun times. I loved it. It was hard too. Oh yeah, but and then even now, like I think because like there's so many more women and people that are now DEI hires, especially in the last like 5 to 10 years. And so like I get frustrated because like I don't get a seat at the table with guys of influence within like certain industries, even though I've done like the same work, been in the same communities for years. There's that stigma, which is frustrating. And so and so I'm not a DEI hire, Sean Ryan. So like, don't worry about that. If you want to get me on your friggin' show, I'd like to talk to you about stuff. And yeah, so Sajid Akram, 50 years old, was killed at the scene in the shootout with police, and Naveed Akram, 24 years old, was arrested at the scene and is in critical condition in the hospital under police guard. The pair, who lived in Bonnyrigg, New South Wales, reportedly pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group, and an IS flag was found in their car. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese confirmed the attack was an act of terrorism motivated by an extremist ideology and deliberately targeted a Jewish Hanukkah event. Okay, so it wasn't the son that was disarmed, it was the father. He was critically injured. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, so Sajid Akram then retreated and was later shot dead by police in a separate exchange of gunfire. Okay, so I wanted to confirm. Okay, so Sajid Akram was shot and killed by police at the scene after he continued the attack. Okay, so after he was disarmed, and I think it was an empty gun anyways, he retreated, and so he did get another firearm, so that is confirmed factual. So using another firearm following the initial confrontation with a bystander. The sequence of events was as follows. Positioned on a bridge, firing at a Hanukkah event crowd below. Ahmad Al-Ahmad tackled and disarmed him. He appeared to run out of ammunition. Sajid Akram then retreated and picked up another one of the multiple firearms the pair had brought to the scene. He continued shooting in the direction of the crowd alongside his son. A police officer positioned nearby and out of the immediate camera frame shot and killed Sajid Akram in the subsequent exchange of fire. So he had a cop, he had a gun, shot him. Boom. So if a civilian had a gun, could have shot him. Anyway, that's just my take on that. Okay, so this is from Sidhant Sabal. New information on Naveed Ikram, the Bondi terror attack suspect. So possibly Pakistani origin, 24 years old. Studied in Hamdard University, Islamabad. Recently lost his job as a bricklayer, and that was by the Jerusalem Post and the Sydney Morning Herald. This guy is not the guy. Apparently his name is also Naveed, and like same name. But yeah, Naveed Akram, like same name, but he's like, it's not me. Please stop saying it's me. It's not me. So yeah, anyway. Okay, there's the video. I knew I had it up. Okay.
Oh!
Okay, so if the gun was out of ammo, he would have been able to shoot him anyways. But he did do good drills, like having the gun presented to this guy. And again, he walks away. Like the laws of armed conflict, if this guy was in the military, he would absolutely not be able to shoot this guy. That would be considered a war crime. And so there are people that are saying, you know, they would do differently, especially because of the new information that was provided that he did acquire another firearm and started shooting again. And people are saying that, well, like he could, well, you know, this is what soldiers, this is what infantry people deal with literally on a regular friggin' basis when they're deployed. So appreciate that a little bit more and understand how hard these jobs are. And then people were saying as well that people were provided medical assistance. That happens too. I've literally given examples of people being in firefights where they lost soldiers by the enemy, and then they were injured as well. And so once everything was being cleared and things like that, you have to do like a mass cast situation, and it's based on priority. And so if there are people that were literally just killing your men that has a higher priority for medical need than your own people, that is where the treatment goes. And yeah, it's fucking hard. It's hard to make, but you make those calls, and if you don't, again, you get dishonorably discharged. You get investigated. You get removed from the military, et cetera, and maybe jail. And anyways, I could talk so much more about that, but I'll just get into just people can appreciate how difficult it and the training and understanding people need to have. And we don't have anyone within like respectfully speaking, our chief of defense staff does not have I don't think the understanding or mentality of what she is pushing with the DEI woke stuff and the witch hunts against people that were of legendary qualifications. And anyways, incredible men that were just basically witch hunted because they were in line to be high-ranking CDSs or were CDSs, and people wanted those positions. And so witch hunts happened. These guys had their lives ruined. A lot of this was because of lies and bullshit that ruined, again, not only their careers, but their family lives, etc. And it doesn't help. So this is from Moose on the Loose. He gets into a lot of things, but he also mentions, I believe, the attack. So anyway, we'll let him roll out. I really like him, and I really like his assessments on things. So
We got to get rid of the industrial carbon tax on food.
The policies. I mean, you as a leader.
See, this is it. She's trying to trap him with this nonsense, and he's like, no, I'm not playing those games.
A lot of stuff going on here. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Pierre Poilievre confronting the floor crossing situation head on, going on Rosemary Barton's show. So Power and Politics and all these leftist media can attack the guy for not addressing the media. Rosemary tries to corner him with some gotcha questions, interrupts him constantly throughout the interview because he keeps dropping truth bombs. Clearly Rosemary in a panic. We also got updates of the Michael Ma high-speed train, as well as the major Terror Lord event that just happened in Australia. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got this high-speed rail announcement. Mark Carney saying that he's going to build the high-speed rail network starting with Ottawa to Montreal. Of course they are, because it benefits them. Really, the first segment they should have built was going out of Toronto, but says the first leg of high-speed rail here should be shovels in the ground in a couple of years. We'll see if this really happens. Probably not. And while Canada does need high-speed rail from coast to coast, we don't have the money for this right now. We have people living in tents, and this becomes the top priority. It's bizarre, but not bizarre because obviously they've got construction friends and buddies who want to build this stuff, want lucrative government contracts, as it always is. Moving ahead here, we've got this interview of Rosemary Barton, Pierre Poilievre, which I think is a great move. Obviously, it's not a good thing that Michael Ma defected to the Liberals. I've been building out my chart on this guy. We'll get to that in a second. But Pierre jumping on Rosemary's show and just taking this head on, they can't criticize the guy. If he didn't go on any media, CBC would be jumping all over him. But instead, where does he go? He goes to Rosemary Barton's show.
Pierre Poilievre, nice to see you, Mr. Poilievre.
Good to be with you.
Thanks for making the time. I want to start with what happened in Australia overnight. At least 11 people killed at a Hanukkah event on Bondi Beach. And just for your thoughts on that, sir.
Well, our condolences for the families. This is another act of anti-Semitic evil and terrorism that have become all too common. This is what happens when we allow hate, terrorism, anti-Semitism to be normalized. We in Canada have to reflect on the fact that there have been rampaging anti-Semitic riots on our streets, fire bombings of children's schools, and of...
So what they're talking about here is some pretty terrible stuff. I would not recommend going and looking for the footage that isn't censored, but 11 people perished because there was a couple of guys with pew-pews, long pew-pews, standing up.
Again, this is posted a few hours ago, but it's up to possibly 15 at least at this point.
On a concrete pedestrian overpass, looking down on a bunch of Jewish people on Bondi Beach in Australia and just pew-pewing over and over and over and over. I will show you a couple of clips that doesn't really show much of anything bad. We have mass panic as people are running off the beach. So basically the two guys are over here and they're pew-pewing this way. Just absolute chaos. What's really quite sad about this is, as Kirk pointing out here, the police station's here, and this is where the event was. And it took them 20 minutes to get over there. And apparently out of some of these social media videos, that people were saying they saw 4 police officers, but none of them pew-pewing back. Maybe they didn't have pew-pews on them. I don't know. You would think every cop would have one. But here's one of the terror lords, and we can see a guy, he sneaks up here. Apparently this is a guy who's running a fruit stand. Look at this hero. He saved lives.
Oh!
Okay, so he takes it away. He points at him. He doesn't pull the trigger. Like, this guy didn't want to end someone, but they did capture these guys afterwards. One of them is gone, and the other one, the cops tried to resuscitate doing CPR, which is wild. Why you'd want to revive a demon like that makes no sense to me. So this guy eventually just kind of walks away, which is weird.
My volume was off. See that? Like how like a regular and Moose and Loose, again, this is not a critique at all. This is what I hear a lot by people who are very smart, but again, people that don't have, like, they were not in the military, and so for them, like, how the hell can you provide first aid to a demon and things like that? And so it's just very interesting to see that side of it. And again, he's not the first, he won't be the last that says the same thing. I understand where they're coming from, but if they had that training and they went through the rules of engagement and the law on conflict and things like that, they would but yeah, I mean, it's open to interpretation. Like, what do you guys think?
The cops do eventually get him when they finally show up. There's another video that's 15 minutes long. It shows the concrete pedestrian overpass, and it's someone in a hotel room poking their camera out the window, and you can see the entire thing unfold. They were even yelling down visual sighting down to the cops below, telling them when they can go in. Here's the other guy who's up on the overpass. I believe this guy was pew-pewed and ended. And what did Australian media have to say here?
The core of a lot of the problems that we have in the country at the moment. And I firmly believe that people are good and that given the opportunity, they will look out for each other. And I just want to say that as much as possible, we should try and detoxify the way that we think of people who aren't like us, because our diversity in this country is our strength. And
Why are you
I
saying that right now?
firmly am on the side of working together and
This is wild. This level of diversity is ending people on a beach, peacefully celebrating Hanukkah. And here we have just in October
Like,
2020.
clearly she hasn't deployed to Afghanistan. Clearly she hasn't lost people in battle, IEDs, etc. Clearly she hasn't been to ramp ceremonies. Clearly she hasn't been part of ramp ceremonies, carrying the medal and the beret of something you love. Clearly they like have, again, it's just the mentality, and it's largely on people on the left and non-religious. Is what it is.
25 Muslims swarmed at Sydney Airport arrivals gate yelling Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
That saying Allahu Akbar, I believe, means God is great. Often crazies doing crazy things will yell that as they're doing it. That's why this is kind of disturbing to hear this at an airport. Meanwhile, we've got Joe Warmington here from the Toronto Sun posting this. There's only one solution, Antifada revolution. They're posting this, another Toronto protest. As he says, the anti-Israel group here, not hidden in Toronto. In fact, a blind eye has been turned to it, much like they did in Australia. Meanwhile, we've got the Toronto police posting this. Throughout Hanukkah, you can expect an increased police presence in the Jewish community. This is proactive measure to ensure the safety and security. They're worried about this. That's why they're posting.
Respectfully speaking, it should not just be the Jewish community. It should be like the Christian community as well. Both. I'm saying both. Absolutely both. Actually, all. Freaking all, but like especially because they're the ones that are targeted the most. Christian churches. There's been way more Christian ceremonies, celebrations, churches, schools that have been targeted. And again, it's Christmas time for us coming up as well. And there are a lot more domestic terrorists in Canada in the last 5 years, unfortunately speaking, especially in the last 3 years.
And this whole event just really sad. Question is, those guys who did that, were they vetted? I doubt it. And how many of those people are in our country? We know of at least 10,000 people who came into Canada who are unvetted.
You've now lost 2 MPs to the Liberal Party. Both have pointed to your leadership as issues. Michael Maw saying that he was more interested in unity than division. Is this a problem?
That's not true. Chris D'Entremont left because he threw a tantrum after not being able to be deputy speaker. He wanted the extra $50,000 a year you get with that position. Dare said, no, we need to have nobody running as deputy speaker because whoever takes that role, they can't vote for the party. That's why if Mark Carney gets one more person to flip, whether it's from the Conservatives, the Bloc, or the NDP, he still won't be able to pass stuff because the speaker does not get to vote. They're a tiebreaker. So he actually needs 2 more. And then if the Terrebonne riding flips to the Bloc, then he needs 3 more. So this isn't a slam dunk yet, even though we can see Mark Carney is trying to steal a majority government without it being democratically voted for.
Problem of your leadership at this
it's a problem of Mark Carney's leadership that after Canadians clearly rejected a costly liberal majority because they knew it would mean higher grocery prices and higher food costs, he is trying to manipulate his way through backroom deals to get that majority.
He's allowed to do this, though, right? Floor crossing is allowed. You've benefited from.
He's allowed to rip off Canadian taxpayers who voted for someone else. He's allowed.
Is he allowed to bribe people or blackmail people? Is he allowed to incentivize their move financially because of financial gain and connections to China? Does that sound like it should be something that's okay to people when you say it out loud? I don't think so. No. If it's not Canada first, then no.
Yes, it is technically allowed. It should not be allowed. I don't know why this stupid rule is allowed in our country.
But he's trying to take a costly majority that would drive up the cost of living and enrich liberal elites, of course, but not through democratic means. My message to Mark Carney is that if you want a costly majority government to drive up taxes and deficits, then you have to go to the Canadian people and have them vote for it, not do it by dirty backroom deals.
I mean, I know you don't like it, and we can talk about the merits of floor crossing and whether it should be allowed, but it is allowed. This is something that is allowed to happen. So back to my question.
She's trying to deflate this here because Pierre just said dirty backroom deals. Canadians won't like how that sounds. So she's quickly trying to say, no, this is allowed. Don't worry. Dirty backroom deals, they're totally allowed in Canada. The Prime Minister totally allowed to rip.
You know how people, I mean, it's a little bit dramatic how they say like liberal women are like the biggest threat to humanity. Like these are the people they're talking about. Literally her.
Off taxpayers. This is allowed.
Is this a sign of of a weakness in your leadership that two members of your caucus have left?
No, it's a sign of backroom dealings that will drive up the cost of living. And don't take my word for it. Take Mr. Ma's word. This is what he said just a few weeks ago. We are in a shameful situation in this country where over 2 million Canadians are visiting food banks every month. At the end of every month, paychecks are not going far enough. Why is that? I'm quoting. The Liberals want to deflect and blame this solely on the trade deficit. However, there's a simple economic fact. When we create more units of currency and map them into the economy that is not meaningfully producing more goods and services, we get inflation. As a case in point, in the last 5 years, I'll just finish up his quote.
What kind of interview is this? She's trying to interrupt him here, and even said, "Let me finish." This is
well, even before he finishes, because she's a cow. But they're talking about how the Liberals are doing so great and how there's so many jobs that have come up in the last couple of months. I'll reiterate, it's around Christmas time. There's more part-time jobs, but there's more jobs. 77% of the job growth, Alberta. 77%. And so completely oblivious. Like they spew all these numbers. They don't realize that it's because of conservatives and decrease in liberal led provinces. In some cases, like a really stark decrease. And I'll reiterate, it's around Christmas time. There's always going to be more jobs. So around January to early February, there's going to be a decline in the job market again.
one of the quotes I had on the channel the other day. I'm surprised he didn't use the one where Michael Ma was attributing Mark Carney to slave labor.
In the last 5 years, grocery prices have risen more than 20%. He blames that on Mark Carney's deficit, and that was only a few weeks ago. So
it's possible he didn't write that, though, as we know. Many of your MPs, many of your MPs are given talk.
Look at that. He didn't write that, right? Just absolutely fighting for Mark Carney on here. This is not unbiased media.
They were his words.
What
were his words?
Okay, so
you know what he was right in them when he said that, and it was, but he.
What are you doing now? What are you doing now to make sure other caucus members don't leave? What are you saying to them?
Affordability. Canadians cannot afford grocery prices because of Carney's hidden liberal taxes on food. What unites all conservatives is the belief that you should be able to have a full bank account, a full fridge, and a full stomach all at the same time, something that's not possible after 10 years.
We were talking.
Listen to this. Rosemary just interrupting every time she can. Before we get into other topics, we got to touch on Michael Ma here. So welcome to the board, Michael Ma. And so as I pointed out, all the connections to China, Michael Ma, well, there's a couple other ones that have come out here. Here's from that event, the Shutter Lux. Michael Ma sitting right next to Tim Hodgson. Interesting. I've got all the sources now, all the links on here. We've got Michael Ma's biography here. And going through this, found something very interesting. And what do we see here? Life Labs. Well, who's this? It's Anita Nand's husband, John Knowlton. So this is the same guy who's the senior managing director and business partner at Olmers Infrastructure, the same Olmers from this pension section here, Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System. So he's the infrastructure manager. But an interesting connection here, we can see Life Labs. So he used to be a director and board member of Life Labs, and it has the dates here, 2010, and then it ended in 2018. But you can see he became chairman in 2010, and
look where he has shares and stocks. Look at people in cabinet, House of Commons. They're partners.
Still chairman today. So this guy is still chairman of Life Labs, and you can see Olmers here. He's still at Olmers, 2014 till now, private equity investor. Michael Ma joined Life Labs as a consultant in January 2019, and then assumed the role of Chief Information Officer October 2019. Was this the connection here? Is this why Mark Carney was so desperate to have Anita Nand be part of his government? Remember, he went and begged her. She resigned. He begged her to come back because they probably knew there was some connections, there was some power that she had that would bring to Mark Carney. And I've got all the receipts here. Still, Anand's filings under Conflicts of Interest Act do not disclose that her husband, John Knowlton, is a director of Life Labs. So that was before he's now chairman. As for when Michael Ma quit Life Labs, we don't know. It's unknown in the 2020s sometime. So that's an interesting connection in itself. And going back to Michael Ma's photo ops here that you can see on the China-Canada Federation of Entrepreneurs, I finally had some time to go through this just to give you a look at this. Here's the events here. And who's that? It's Michael Ma. And it's Michael Ma, and it's Michael Ma. bunch of pictures of Michael Ma with basically everyone here. What is this group exactly? There's like 100 photos here. This is a business association. Looking at this page here, that's all in Chinese, and converting this to English, we have a list of organizations and links that this goes to. Now, I've already broken this down in this screenshot here and highlighted them in green. These are all directly connected to the Chinese Communist Party. All of these links, and I have them all broken down here. China Northeast Asia Expo, Chinese Government, PRC, Ministry of Commerce, and Jinlin Province Provincial Government. Ministry of Commerce for the People's Republic of China, China Association Science Technology, and there's a bunch of provincial ones here for different provinces in China that all have CCP-led groups. Canada Business Day is a China-based trade event, Chinese Communist Party supported, etc., etc. There's so many links here. This entire organization, as it shows here, friendly links directly linking to the Chinese government. And this group openly promoting with like 50 plus photos of Michael Ma on their website. And someone else that you see on here, Doug Ford. So Rosemary Barton should be asking these questions. Why does Michael Ma have so many of these ties? Why was Michael Ma so chummy with Tim Hodgson? Instead, she's just going to interrupt Pierre Poilievre, try to debunk everything he says on the CBC.
Talking to Minister Champagne about that, and a gentleman who's using a food bank, because you're right, they are at record highs. But obviously, there are some people who believe that Mark Carney has the solutions to those problems.
Well, he is the one who's causing the problems. He's bringing in an industrial carbon tax on farm equipment and on fertilizer that drives up food.
He was the financial advisor from 2020 onwards. He's the godfather to Chrystia Freeland's son. Connected to that, she was the deputy prime minister and shadow finance minister, et cetera, et cetera. From the beginning, this guy was involved in crippling our economy.
Prices, a food packaging tax that adds about $1 billion to grocery bills across the country, a new fuel tax that will be 7 cents a liter next year on farmers, on truckers who bring us our food. And then, of course, there's a $78 billion deficit, twice the size of Trudeau's, which is causing inflation, as Mr. Ma rightly pointed out. And I'm the only one who's going to reverse that inflationary policy. I've been saying this now for 5 years, and I regrettably continually proven right that when you spend more and tax more, then Canadians have to pay more for groceries after 10 Liberal years.
Let's talk a bit about policy, because that's obviously where you want to go too. The memorandum of understanding with Alberta. The overall goal of that deal is to get a pipeline, at least one pipeline to the British Columbia coast to get more oil to Asian markets. Do you think that the fundamentals behind that deal are a good idea? That itself is a good idea?
A pipeline to the Pacific?
Well, that part of the deal that the Prime Minister has put on the table with the Alberta Premier makes sense.
Yes, obviously. That's why I put forward a motion in favor of that pipeline, but Mark Carney doesn't think it's a good idea. He voted against his own promised pipeline.
That because it didn't have the industrial carbon price in it, as you know.
You make a very good point.
Yes,
Mark
if you
Carney,
had put the whole MOU on the table to vote against, it probably would have worked out better for you in that instance.
But then I would be voting for a costly carbon tax, as you point out, a tax on food, because when you tax the farm equipment and fertilizer, you tax the food, a tax on homes, because when you tax cement, glass,
he was waiting for this. This is really smart. He noticed all his talking points here are cost of living, because that's the biggest concern in Canada right now.
Concrete, wood, and other things.
Alberta is comfortable with industrial carbon pricing.
If I could, you asked me why I didn't put it in, because I am against carbon taxes, period. Now, let's talk about the amazing and brilliant Premier of Alberta, who said just the other day when she was endorsing my leadership that I would not have forced a carbon tax on her. And if I were Prime Minister right now, we'd be well on the way to planning a pipeline, something that is not happening under the current Liberal government. Now, let's be clear about Mark Carney. He is a counterfeit. He's pretending to adopt my policies because he knows they're popular, but he's quietly working against them. He's told his Liberal caucus.
You don't believe that he actually wants a pipeline? Because the Alberta Premier believes it.
I do believe what he voted against, which was the pipeline. And Mark, let's take a look at the history here. What you have to believe to trust Mark Carney on this. His party killed this pipeline in a November of 2016 cabinet decision. Mark Carney endorsed that decision to kill the pipeline. I don't believe that Mark Carney has changed from the things that he wrote for 10 years and that his party did for 10 years, which is to block pipelines and try to keep oil and gas in the
Then
ground.
why does Danielle Smith believe him?
Danielle Smith was very clever because she forced Carney to flip-flop.
I was just going to say that because of pressure, because of people like Danielle Smith, there's a lot more pressure. He does not want to do it.
And break his word to his Leave It in the Ground caucus by withdrawing his threatened emissions cap and clean electricity regulations, because those things would have driven up the cost of energy and killed even more jobs. Now, Ms. Smith defended her province by forcing Carney to flip-flop on that. But that, at the end of the day, does not mean that we should give him credit. He was threatening to do a lot of damage. Now he's doing a little less damage. Why doesn't he just get out of the way? We know what it takes to get a pipeline done. The federal...
Yeah, so Pierre's right here. Danielle Smith used this as a way to get rid of the clean electricity regulations and start a pipeline. He knows if Pierre gets in, he's going to get rid of all that carbon tax nonsense, and they would have already have started a pipeline. Now, that is if Mark Carney was a man of his word, which he is not. This is the same guy who plagiarized his thesis. A guy said by many who's worked with him that he's a complete arrogant jerk. But Mark Carney isn't going to do this. He's rolling out his net zero agenda. Mark Carney created Glasgow Finance for an Alliance for Net Zero G fans. He's not in favor of oil and gas.
The government has the sole legal authority to approve it.
Yeah.
So approve it.
Okay. So
set the corridor, and the private sector will build it because it's wildly profitable.
You referenced Northern Gateway, and you know that the problems there. Yes, it was a cabinet decision, but the problem is British Columbia and First Nations. So what would you do to try and get their support for a pipeline, or would you just say, "Too bad, we're doing it"?
We're doing it.
Oh, so you wouldn't bother with consultation?
Of course, I would consult.
Yeah.
That's what my motion said.
Yeah.
We do consultations, but we are going to build a pipeline when I'm Prime Minister. As for British Columbia, the Premier does not have a veto. No. Under our Constitution, Section 92, it is the exclusive domain of the federal government, and under Bill C-5, which Mark Carney asked for, it is the exclusive decision of the Prime Minister. So there's only one person who will decide on this in the end, and that is the Prime Minister of Canada. Mark Carney is quietly whispering to the Leave It in the Ground Liberal caucus, there will never be a pipeline, don't worry.
He must not be saying that because Stephen Guilbeault quit.
Stephen Guilbeault quit because of the emissions cap, but he is saying it, and his own MPs in British Columbia are saying it. And then he voted against a pipeline in the House of Commons. What he's doing, let's be clear, pipelines are popular and profitable. So he's pretending that he's open to one until after the next election so that he can try to win pro-pipeline voters.
There were 4 or 5 countries that Trump has been seeking mineral deals with, and Canada is not one of them, despite the fact that we have an abundance of precious minerals and resources that could be sold to them. Sorry, he's got to go.
But then his plan is to kill the project.
Or not,
if you want a pipeline to the Pacific, to add $30 billion of overseas exports, the biggest export project overseas in Canadian history, you will need a conservative government that will get out of the way and let it happen.
Okay, I want to ask you about trade, because that's the other piece that is coming in the new year. There's still no deal. Talks are still stalled, although Prime Minister speaks to the President. Do you think...
Yeah, Carney's not getting a deal, period. And Pierre's 100% right here. There's no way Carney's going to build a pipeline. He's doing exactly as Pierre said. He's going to wait till the next election, try to get some of the swing voters who are under the impression that Carney will build a pipeline. I have friends like this who think maybe Carney's going to do this. I'm telling them he's not doing any of it, but it's working. It's working to trick some of the swing voters in the middle. They're sitting on the fence. If Carney gets a majority, there will never be a pipeline.
That the CUSMA review is now the best way forward for Canada in getting any kind of deal with the United States.
Well, my position is that we need tariff-free access to the biggest and most lucrative market in the world, which we had before the Liberal government was elected in 2015. Of course, after the Liberals got in, President Obama started hammering us with new tariffs on softwood lumber that Harper had got lifted. They brought in new Buy America rules. And then it's been one defeat after another. Now,
so
Mark
what would
Carney
you do? What do you think they should be doing here?
We should reflect on the fact that Mark Carney was elected on one promise, that he would negotiate a win with President Trump by July 21st. And here we are, about a half a year later. His promise is broken. American tariffs have doubled. They've tripled on softwood.
But some of that is because of the president. So I'm genuinely curious. What would you do?
This is just horrible. He's speaking and she talks over him because she doesn't want him dropping truth bombs on CBC, because maybe it'll wake up some of the sheep.
I will answer
in
that.
dealing with Donald Trump.
I will answer that question, but let's be clear. Mark Carney said he could handle Donald Trump.
Well, so did you.
So, and I would have if I were prime minister right now.
So what should he be doing?
What kind of response is that from Rosemary? And so did you. Yeah, Pierre's not the prime minister. What is this?
Well, start. We have to negotiate from a position of strength.
Yeah.
And I have to go back. We need to approve pipelines and natural gas projects and other major resource projects that allow us to ship our single biggest export overseas, so that we are
And
not
that alone would get Donald Trump to talk to you
that we
more?
are not monolithically dependent on the Americans. We need to get rid of the capital gains tax on reinvestments in Canada to bring back the $500 billion of investment Liberals have driven into the U.S. economy. And then you can sit down with the president and say, look, now we're selling our resources to the Asians, to the Europeans. Now we're bringing back our investment and becoming more sovereign, strong, and self-reliant. Now we're in a position of strength. Now let's negotiate. And that
He's right here. I mean, look what happened. I showed in the previous video, potash, Trump lifting sanctions on Belarus for potash because they don't want to deal with Canada and our potash. So they're just going around us. Once again, we're getting forced into a position of weakness because Carney is not acting. And he doesn't need to act because he's not invested in Canada. 91% in America. Most of those other stocks are in other countries. He has 3 stocks in Canada. He doesn't care about our country. And yet people think, elbows up, this banker is fighting for us. Really, a globalist banker, elitist, arrogant jerk who is publicly announcing projects that he wants to invest our money in, that he's invested in, is going to do the right thing for Canada. The sheep have to wake up or our country's screwed.
would be a far better approach than what Mr. Carney is doing, which is blocking these projects, keeping all of the liberal taxes and anti-resource project laws in place of the last 10 years and giving even more of our investment to the Americans.
It's been a long year. I think we can both agree on that. A long, busy political year. Did you take any lessons from this past year, either in the election defeat, in your defeat in your own riding? Is there anything you're reflecting on in terms of what you should be doing differently, better, your leadership style, how you speak to Canadians?
I reflect a lot on why I'm doing this. Why am I in this? And it's the elderly woman who said to me that going shopping used to be her favorite thing to do every week. Now she walks down a grocery aisle and she feels anxious and angry because of how much it costs to fill her fridge, that she gets home and she's stressed out because she cannot afford to eat. I think of the young guy I met who wants to start a family. He's in his 30s. He's been working his whole adult life and he can't afford a down payment. I am in it for these people and I need to give them hope. That's what this country needs now more than ever. Hope that you will again be able to afford a home. Hope that you can afford food. Hope that you'll be safe on your streets. And that will be the obsession of my leadership, to provide hope for a better future.
And that's the why, and super important.
Come on, Rosemary. Here, her little grunts and noises trying to interrupt Pierre. She doesn't like that Pierre is dishing some serious truth bombs here. She's panicking and trying to interrupt him once again. Because him talking about hope and him talking about relatable things that Canadians are going through, basically every Canadian dealing with extremely expensive groceries, price of houses, all of it. Better not have too much of that on the CBC. She just wanted to rattle out her talking points. You notice all of her questions here are all the same garbage they keep posting on Power and Politics and all this. Pierre's leadership, did he reflect on himself? She was hoping that she could kind of trap him in this thing where, have you really done enough introspection to realize what you've done wrong in the past, blah, blah, and he didn't go there. He did not play those stupid games.
Obviously, but it's the how I'm asking about, whether you think that you are doing the how the right way.
Well, on the how, so let's break it down. On food, the how is we got to get rid of the industrial carbon tax on food.
I don't mean the policies. I mean you as a leader, whether you feel you're doing.
See, this is it. She's trying to trap him with this nonsense. And he's like, no, I'm not playing those games. We're talking about how to fix Canada here. She wants to try to disparage his character.
That part the right way, to connect with those people and talk about what you think are the right solutions.
Yeah, the right solutions. It's not just the industrial carbon tax that we have to. The underlying problem with inflation is that they're printing money. And whenever you print money...
I'm trying to look for Rosemary Barton's salary. I'm really not getting anything. I know Catherine Tate makes an obscene amount. When you count her benefits and bonuses, it's approximately $623,900 a year. Wild. Her base salary ranges from $422,000 to $521,000 annually. But again, there's bonuses and other things that are also covered, which is absolutely wild. And so many, again, a lot of bonuses. And when they had to scrap the bonuses, I think it was May of this year, because there was so much controversy, like over $18 million in bonuses, they've offset that by huge salary increases. And again, if CBC wasn't biased and wrong like all the time, it would be one thing, but they're not good media. They don't hire good people, respectfully speaking, and it's a lot of propaganda. I wanted to share something, but anyway, keep this.
Then you bid up the goods that Canadians buy, and it enriches a small group of liberal elite corporate insiders because all their assets go up. But then the working class people who actually carry this country on their shoulders, they get ripped off. And so we need to stop the money printing, get our budget back into balance, cut the bureaucracy, consultants, corporate welfare, foreign aid, handouts to phony refugees, cut that all off, because then you can bring down the deficits, the inflation, and the taxes. And then that young person I met will be able to afford a down payment, and that wonderful grandmother will be able to once again enjoy her visit to the grocery store because she can afford groceries.
Are you looking forward to Christmas with your holiday, with your family?
So. Yeah. We procrastinated on letters to Santa. And so we got them written last night.
Okay.
And
hopefully he'll get them in time.
Well, I know we put them on the Christmas tree, and there was an elf that came and took the letter, and we understand that through that express service, it's going to make it to the North Pole just in time.
This interview is quite something. Pierre just sticking to what is the problem in Canada, and she just tried her best to attack his character and force him into these corners, and it didn't work. At this point,
I found what I was going to share, because again, it's relevant. It has to do with Rosemary Barton and Catherine Tate and CBC. So a federal crown corporation. So a federal crown corporation is a type of organization in Canada that is wholly owned by the federal government, but structured and operated with a level of managerial autonomy, similar to a private company. They are created by an act of parliament to serve a public policy purpose or national interest that the private sector might be unwilling or unable to provide. I'm saying that it should not be classified. It should be reclassified. It is not a federal crown corporation anymore, because they're created by the act of parliament to serve as a public policy purpose or national interest that the private sector might be unwilling or unable to provide. I am private sector now. I have my security clearances, I'm incorporated, et cetera, and so I could be hired by the government to offer way better services and way better information to you guys and to cabinet, et cetera, than these clowns at CBC. And so by this alone, because of the fact that they are like a federal crown company, and they are very much pushing, again, a very biased, pseudoscientific, woke DEI, ridiculous narrative, then I don't know. I'm just trying to find ways to get them to get fired. This is ridiculous. Or at least, not be considered a federal crown corporation, because they're not. Okay, so unlike Sunshine Lists, which disclose salaries for public employees earning over $100,000 in provinces like Ontario, federal crown corporations are not currently required to disclose the specific salaries of individuals, journalists, or on-air talent. Okay, that needs to change, because if taxpayers are the ones that are paying for that, we should be allowed to see the salaries. We are literally paying for their services, and we're expecting good services, but we're not getting it. So anyways, salary estimates and structure, union status, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so most on-air CBC journalists are members of the Canadian Media Guild, while there are standard pay scales for reporters, high-profile star correspondents, and hosts typically negotiate individual contracts that can exceed standard union caps significantly. And that would include Rosemary Barton in there, I'm assuming. Talks about the base salary for CEOs. This is the controversy regarding the bonuses 2024, 2025. So yeah, bonuses scrapped. Okay, so yeah, it was May of this year, May 2025. Following public outcry over bonuses being awarded during periods of job cuts, the CBC Board of Directors announced it would eliminate performance-based bonuses for managers and executives. But then there were raises. Okay, so summary of public disclosures. Okay, so CBC paid $18.4 million in bonuses this year after jobs eliminated. It's from August 2024. You're so slimy. I asked, though, if I said, was this where I asked, or was it Grok? Where was it? But anyways, yeah, CBC is a federal crown corporation. Oh yeah, okay. Anyways, is CBC a federal crown corporation? So yes, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is a federal crown corporation. Operates as Canada's national public broadcaster. 2 thumbs down for at least 5 years. It's been garbaggio. Established by the Broadcasting Act to provide radio, television, and internet-based services to all Canadians, while wholly owned by the Canadian federal government. It maintains editorial independence and okay, and managerial autonomy in its daily operations. And then even Carney making the same stupid joke as Trudeau about like how we pay for the media. It's true, so of course they're gonna, say good things about us. Anyway, I just wanted to break it up as well with Moose on the Loose. Yeah, you guys got to check out his channel. It's almost over anyways, actually, but this guy's great.
There's so much of this stuff piling on. I don't think Michael Maugh's going to be sitting pretty here. Maybe they thought they could get away with this. All this stuff is blowing up day by day. People are digging up more stuff about Michael Maugh, these connections. It is only a matter of time before Canadians finally wake up.
They are. And so even while this video has been playing, Mario for the North, he just posted something about Helen Gruce and calling her a hero. And that's amazing. He has such a huge following. And there are prominent politicians and influencers that obviously follow his channel as well. And so she's getting the attention she deserves. What happened to her was completely horrific, and it's been ongoing. And so like maybe now the tides are changing, and finally, instead of being so condemned and vilified because of people like Trudeau and others, then she can get some kind of a friggin' medal or some kind of an Order of Canada. But anyways, on that note, I do have to go. So I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.